Welcome to Rewitched, a charmed 1998 rewatch podcast. Join us on our journey as we recap, examine, and critique the series episode by episode from the beginning.
We'll be keeping our podcast spoiler free, so we welcome fans new and old to join us in watching and reflecting on one of our favorite shows.
Currently, we're on season 3.
I'm your host, Jess Sabanko.
And I'm your host, Mia Sobanko.
Now let's get into this week's episode. This week, we're discussing Season 3, Episode 3, Once Upon a Time. It originally aired on October 19th, 2000, and had 5.37 million viewers.
So this episode starts in P3 and it's nighttime and the place is popping and Piper's behind the bar working. Her hair's up super cute. She looks happy. And then Leo walks up to her and she smiles and she comes over and says, "I knew you'd come back. Phoebe was worried, Prue was a wreck, but I knew you'd find a way." And he says that they need to talk and she says that they need to kiss first and they start kissing. And then Leo says, "I came to say goodbye." And she's like, "What?" And he said, "They told us to break up. They caught us trying to get married." And she's like, "So we don't get married? We'll wait." And he says, "It's too late. We broke the rules, and now they won't let us see each other again." And then the sound starts getting like distorted and muffled, and Piper's like really stressed out and confused. And Leo says, "I don't care what they do to me, but I couldn't bear anything happening to you. I shouldn't even be here right now." And he starts to leave and she's saying like she can't hear him anymore, and he tells her to forget him and that he loves her, and orbs out in front of everyone and everyone is staring and she's like breathing heavy and calling for Leo and it's very intense. And then Prue walks over and starts shaking her, telling her to wake up, and then she wakes up in her bedroom with Prue actually in real life shaking her. And Piper's like, "Leo's not coming back." And Prue says, "Honey, it was just a bad dream." And she's crying and she says, "No, it wasn't. It was real. I don't understand. Why are they doing this to us? It's like destroying lives is how they amuse themselves." And she says, "Piper, watch what you say." And Piper says, "Why? What are they going to do to me? They couldn't hurt me more than they already have." And then Prue hugs her. Uh, why do we have to start out so painful?
I know. And I love it because it's like high drama Piper, which is my favorite type of
Yeah.
Piper. And then we get into this scene and it's just like, wow. Because we ended last episode with Leo kind of being taken away in these orbs and in pain. So we're like, what the fuck happened to Leo? And I guess we get our answer here because we know from previous episodes that when he became a white lighter, he reached out to his other wife through her dreams. So now
Yeah.
he's doing the same thing with Piper, is I think what we can get as the impression here.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of a little more consistency of him coming in the dreams, and I don't know how they're able to do that, but it is pretty cool. And poor Piper, I mean, I don't even know. I think we were all concerned that Leo was like dead or something, like just
Yeah.
not I mean, the way they like exploded him in orbs and sent him away felt like something was going down, but I guess they're just keeping them apart, which is I guess a little better.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess, what were they saying? The
Unspeakable wrath.
unspeakable wrath. Yeah, it doesn't seem too unspeakable to me.
Yeah. I mean, they're talking right there. Yeah.
But yeah, no. I mean, and I like the way, Prue is trying to be there for her through this. Very supportive, very sisterly. That all works for me.
Me
But
too.
yeah, I mean, is this the end of Piper and Leo? That's kind of what I'm wondering in this scene.
One can only hope that they're able to fight for each other. But yeah, that's kind of what's going through my head too. That it's just the breaking point.
So next we go to Phoebe driving and listening to music when her phone starts ringing, and it's Prue who we see is in the living room, so we kind of cut back and forth throughout this scene. Phoebe's kind of like, "Oh, I'll be home soon with your car." And Prue tells her that she's not worried about the car and then tells her about Piper's dream. She's like, "I've never seen her like this. It's like she's completely given up." And Phoebe's distracted and almost gets into an accident. And then we see this little girl in the middle of the street with a box. Phoebe's like, I'm fine, your car's fine, but I gotta go. And she hangs up. So she runs over to the little girl and asks if she's okay. And the little girl starts yelling and she's kind of like looking straight ahead. She says, You can't have it. I won't give it to you. Leave me alone. And Phoebe looks and there's no one there. And then the little girl starts running away and Phoebe chases after her. Then we see the little girl falls onto the ground and she's like fighting with something invisible. And Phoebe goes over and tells her that she's safe, but when we look at the little girl, there's like these big like claw marks on her arm.
Pretty intense start. I love Phoebe here. I love when we get to see Phoebe act all motherly and kind of maternal. She's so sweet with kids. We've seen that so many times. Like, I can't wait to see Phoebe as a mom.
I know.
Hopefully one day. But yeah, pretty interesting start. Definitely makes you wonder, like, who the hell is that was attacking her? And if the charmed ones got involved, they know it's destiny.
Exactly.
Gonna have to help them.
And I'm kind of, at this point wondering if or how our two storylines will connect, because obviously we have this Piper dealing with losing Leo storyline, and then we have whatever is going on with this little girl and some type of invisible monster.
Exactly, yes. Then we hear the theme song, and after that we are in the kitchen, and Phoebe brings tea and cookies over to the table where the little girl is now sitting. And Prue and Piper walk in, and Prue asks if she found anything out, but she didn't. And Piper says that her parents are on their way and that she lives right up the street. And Phoebe's gonna go to the car to get her jacket, but she can't find the keys. And the little girl says the fairies probably hid them. And they all look at her like, what? Phoebe says, what was that? And she says, sorry, I'm not supposed to talk about fairies. And Phoebe sits next to her and says, you know what? In this house, you can talk about anything you want. Sometimes we talk about weird things too. And she says, well, that's what fairies do. Hide your keys and things. They're tricky like that. And Phoebe asks if there's a fairy in the box, if that's what she's protecting. And the little girl kind of doesn't say anything. And then the bell rings. And Prue goes to get it. And she tells them that it's her mom and her new husband. And then in the entryway, we find out that the girl's name is Kate. And Prue tells the parents that she's fine. She just scraped her arm and is scared. Then Kate comes running in and tells them to get out of the doorway, that it's the in-between. And they come in, and Phoebe asks what an in-between is. And Kate says, it's where the trolls are. And then her mom kneels down by her and says, honey, we've had this conversation before. You're a big girl, and it's time to stop believing in things like that. And then to the sisters, she says she's had some problems since her father and I divorced. Regressed, sort of, back to the imaginary friend stage. And then the husband thanks them and says that they should go. And Kate says, they'll get us. And the man's like, I won't let them. It's okay, come on. And he picks her up, and she looks in the doorway and sees a troll, but no one else can see it. And they walk out, and Prue closes the door.
So my first thing with this scene, they know she lives down the street. Why didn't they just take her directly to her house?
I know. I was wondering that too. Why did her parents have to come pick her up? I mean, I assumed that they took her home and called the parents and were had to come home and find out their number.
But like, why couldn't they just ring their doorbell or something? They live down the street.
I don't know. Maybe the little girl didn't want to go or something. I don't know. Sometimes these things don't quite add up here. But it's okay.
Like, I was just like, why? Like, these little girl's parents are like worried. She's like missing in the middle of the night. And instead of just taking her home, they're like, you can come pick her up at our house.
Yeah. We'll trade her for $1 million and you'll get your daughter back. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
That was like immediately where my head went when I saw this scene, because I'm just like, why are they at the manor? I don't understand.
I guess that doesn't make too much sense at all. And I feel like the scene wasn't that necessary. Like, they could have had this conversation in the car ride there or something. You know what I mean? To like figure out, oh, obviously it's about trolls and fairies is what we're gonna be, looking at today. They didn't have to have this whole scene, at the
Yeah.
house.
Also, I mean, like, I don't know that much about like young kids, but like they're gonna mention later in the episode that like Kate is 7. Is that too old to have imaginary friends? I don't even know.
I don't think so. I feel like I had imaginary, maybe that I would like make up. I feel like 10 is like maybe okay, grow up.
Yeah,
Like
like if she were 10, I'd be concerned that she has imaginary friends, but like 7, I'm kind of like, like maybe a little bit old, but not like
yeah,
concerning.
yeah, no. I don't think that it's too big of a deal. I feel like there are definitely 7-year-olds who have imaginary friends.
Yeah, I feel like especially if you're like an only child, it like makes sense.
Yeah, which she is, I assume, based on what we see. Aside from that, at least we kind of got the information of, okay, it's gonna have to do with this little girl and these fairies and trolls that are after her.
Yeah. I will also say, I mean, based on the dynamics we're seeing here, and I think that we'll continue to see throughout the episode, it seems like her stepfather is like a really good stepfather, which I feel like we don't see depicted in like media that often, that like a step parent is like actually like really good with the kid.
Yeah,
So that was like something I enjoyed seeing there.
me too. That was cute. And also, I mean, if the stepfather had been bad, they'd have to change the story a little, and then they'd have to end up taking care of him too, and that's not the goal of the episode, which is probably partially why.
Yeah,
But
definitely.
still sweet to see.
Yeah. So then we cut back to the kitchen, and like the sisters are still making this tea. And Piper's like, come on, Phoebe, trolls and fairies, you don't believe that stuff. And she's like, sure, why not? And then Piper turns to Prue and is like, well, maybe it's time we tell her about Santa. And Phoebe says, all I know is something was definitely after her. And Piper says, but you didn't see anything. And she says, no, but how else did she get hurt? And Piper's like, how about she fell down and scratched herself? And she's like, no, Piper, they weren't scratches, they were claw marks. Piper asks why she's being so stubborn about this. And Phoebe says, I'm a Scorpio. What's your excuse? And then Prue kind of like jumps in the middle and is like, we're all tired. Like, we should talk tomorrow. And Phoebe's like, look what you did. You went and turned Prue into the middle child. And then Piper says, okay, Phoebe, even if fairies and trolls do exist, you heard what her mom said. The problem started when her father left. That's psychology, not magic. But Phoebe wants to check the book just in case. And then she says, because I don't want to be out stubborned by a Gemini. And she leaves, and then Piper and Prue shake their heads.
So I kind of want to know, like, what months are Scorpio and Gemini? Does it add up to the tree that we saw in the Phoebe's past episode?
Yeah. So I know for Phoebe it definitely does, because Phoebe's birthday is in November, and that is a Scorpio.
Okay.
Gemini, I believe, is in June.
That's what I thought too. Did
Yeah.
it say that on Piper's thing?
I can't remember when Piper's birthday is supposed to be, but I do think it's definitely in the summer, so I do think it does add up.
Okay.
Yeah, so Piper's birthday is June 7th. So yeah, that does add up.
Okay, perfect. Other than that, I feel like you can see, I mean, even though it's understandable that like, and they always have to have it with the exposition, and I feel like that's something that they carry along all throughout the show, where like no matter how many crazy things they've seen, they'll be like, oh, come on, no way, you're wrong. This doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
there's
know.
always someone to like defute it and cause a little more drama because we're like, no, it does exist. And then and that's kind of what's happening now. But also you can tell by the way Piper's talking, I feel like she's very good at acting like this cold hard shell right now. Like she just looks so like done with it all, very stubborn, just kind of making jokes out of the situation, but you could tell she's very hurt right now and she's very good at acting that out without even having to say anything, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll see, like, as we get deeper into the episode, the way that, like, the place that this is really coming from, and it's Piper kind of like having those feelings we saw her having when her relationship with Dan was falling apart, about her powers being what's causing this kind of like tragedy in her love life.
Mm-hmm. And I'm sure she's having a little bit of those feelings now too, you know? I mean, it seems like every time something goes wrong for her, there's a lot of ways that she can go back to that and still feel like, hey, why am I a witch when all it does is cause problems? Magic is breaking up my relationship with Dan. Magic is, took Leo away from me. All of that,
Yeah, and I get her feelings a lot in this episode, and I mean we can talk more and more as scenes come up, but yeah, I totally agree.
So then we go to Kate's house and we see Kate is in her room in her bed and her mom is saying goodnight to her. And Kate's like, don't close the door or turn out the lights. She says, no, the tweens, they come out of the shadows. And the mom is like, Kate, stop, and like does it anyways and then leaves. And then Kate holds the box and begs for them to go away. And then we cut around the room and hear voices and see things moving. And then the closet opens up and she screams. So we know something's going down and Mama don't give a fuck.
No, literally. I was like, great parenting here, Kate's mom. Like, she's like terrified to go to bed. And what do? Like, oh, too bad.
Yeah, force her to. Like, at least leave the door open so she feels a little safer. Like, get a nightlight for your kid. Like, I used to be scared of the dark. If I was like, hey, mom, I'm a little scared. I think we should, like, I'm 7 years old. Like, hey, I'm really scared of the dark right now. Like, don't turn out the lights. And my mom was like, grow up, Mia, stupid bitch. I'm like, you know what I mean?
No, literally. Like, I used to have a nightlight or like sleep with the TV on or like whatever it was to like help me sleep. Like, my mom was never like, no, turn this shit off.
Yeah, no. Like, it's time to grow up, okay, sweetheart?
You're 7, get a fucking job.
Yeah, you're 7, you're practically an adult. I don't know why you're not paying bills yet. When you start paying bills, you can start sleeping with the door open. Like, Jesus Christ. I was still curling up in bed next to my mom when I'd have nightmares at that age. Like,
no, literally.
poor girl. Just like genuine fear. And she's like, well, what are you gonna do?
And it's not even like she was asking for a lot. Like, it's not like she was like, oh, like, can you stay with me? She literally was like, don't close the door. And her mom was like,
Slammed it shut. Locked it behind her. Like, fuck. But anyways, just kind of more of like a intense moment, wondering what's gonna happen next to Kate.
Yeah, like I'm really worried for her because I guess at this point, like we don't know what the trolls can do. Like it's scary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We see that they like scratched her, so it's like, what else can they do?
Yeah, they're obviously willing to hurt her, and here we are ending this scene on her screaming, and we don't really get back to that at all. So.
I know. I'm like, what happened?
Yeah, like did they
did
get
her mom come back, or did she just fucking ignore her? I don't know.
She yelled from across the room, Kate, shut up and go to bed. Oh God, who knows?
So then we're at the manor and it's the next morning. We're up in the attic and Phoebe's sitting on the floor reading some book. And Prue walks in and Phoebe hands her some drawings that she found that they did as kids of their imaginary friend who was a fairy named Lily. And Prue's like, oh, wow, like I haven't thought about Lily in years. And Phoebe says that's because you grew up and you stopped seeing her. And then she starts reading from this book about fairies, elves, and trolls. And it talks about the tween places, which are places that exist between our realm and theirs. And Prue says, but when you found Kate, she wasn't in an in-between. And Phoebe says, actually, she was in the biggest in-between of all, midnight. And Prue asks why this stuff isn't in the Book of Shadows. And Phoebe says it's because adults wrote it. Then she looks back at Prue's drawing and we see that there's like a troll hiding behind a tree in it. And they have to figure out why the trolls are after Kate. And Phoebe says that they can fill Piper in on the way. And Prue says that they should just do this on their own. But Phoebe thinks that it would be a good distraction for Piper. Then the phone starts ringing and Piper calls from downstairs that the phone is for Phoebe. And Phoebe grabs the drawings and starts heading downstairs.
So now at least Prue and Phoebe are starting to be on the same page about this. Kind of starting to realize, okay, something actually is going on. but I do want to see how Piper's going to react based on, how we know things are going. I want to see how she handles the situation.
Yeah. I also want to talk a little bit because again, when we're talking about like ages, and I know like the show just has no consistency about like the sisters' ages, but like how would it be possible for them to all have the same imaginary friend at the same time?
I
Prue
don't
is
know.
too much older than Phoebe for that to make sense.
She's what? We figured out 4 years older than her?
She's 4 to 6 years older than her, depending on what the show feels like doing that week.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, if Phoebe were old enough to even, comprehend things like that, she'd have to be like 4
That's
at
what I'm
least.
saying. So that puts Prue anywhere from 8 to 10.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's not that unrealistic if they're all together, like still innocent and whatever, but yeah, if she was like exactly 8, it would probably make the most sense.
Yeah, and
But we don't
also
know
I'm
that for
just
sure.
saying if like Phoebe's 4, her drawing should be way worse. Like
Yeah.
4-year-olds cannot draw good.
No.
But, whatever, I guess. Plot's sake.
Yeah, plot's sake.
But I do like this idea that the show is painting here that like only kids can see these magical creatures and like that's why they're not in the book. Like I really like the idea behind this episode and kind of the way it carries that theme throughout.
Me too. And I, kind of like the innocence part
Mhm.
of it. And I wonder if it's like a once you know and you can see them again kind of deal, or it's still just kids, like they're just aware of it, but only kids can see it because they can't get that, that back or something.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too.
And
And like you were mentioning before, the way that like Prue and Phoebe have these different ways of kind of like wanting to handle what's going on with Piper
Mhm.
here, and I'm interested to see how that's going to play out as we move forward.
Me too. So now we are downstairs, and Piper says, "It's your little boyfriend." And Phoebe hands her the drawings, and she's like, "There." And he is not my boyfriend. And Piper leaves, and Phoebe picks up the phone and is like, "Hello." And Cole says, "Who's not your boyfriend?" And she goes, the mailman. Yeah, sometimes Piper likes to tease me because I get the mail a lot. So how are you? And he's like, well, it's a beautiful morning and I got a beautiful woman on the phone, so things could be worse. And then he says, God, I sound like Billy Appleby. My God. And she's like, what? And he's like, nothing. And she's like, no, wait, what did you say? And he says, Billy Appleby's just this hokey guy from this old movie I watched too many times when I was a kid. And he's looking at a paper that lists, all of her favorite things and facts about her. And they both at the same time are like, kill it before it dies. And Cole's like, you seen it? And she's like, once or twice. And then he's like, really? Too bad it's not playing. I'd take you to see it. And she holds the phone away and like mouths, I love you. And then he says, of course, we could always have dinner instead. And she says, are you asking me out, counselor? And he says, guilty. How about tonight? And he flips over the papers in the folder, and there's a map of the manor where the Book of Shadows is. And then he says, I could stop by your place. And Prue runs up, and Phoebe says, actually, tonight's not good because Piper's going through something. But I will call you, and maybe we can meet at the club. And Prue takes the phone and hangs up. She's like really stressed out. And then on the other end, Cole's end, he's like in his office and he looks mad. And he closes the folder and makes it vanish with his powers. So I absolutely love that they called that back
Me too.
from season
Me
2.
too.
Like that is that's something that they definitely keep consistent. Phoebe loves this movie, and it's not too much of a spoiler, but like they totally like it's not the first time they'll mention him again. I love it so
No, yeah.
much.
I love that too. I love that that's one of the things they keep consistent throughout the show. Again, not getting into spoilers with how we'll see it come up again, but we do. And I love the way that like part of me wants to hate Cole because I'm like, you're playing her, but like he's so good at it that like as she's falling for it, I'm falling for it too. And then I remember, wait a minute, He
Yeah,
literally has a paper with it fucking written down in front of him.
I know. If it wasn't, and it sucks because Phoebe's reacting exactly like you'd expect, like so trusting, so excited, so like into this new relationship or vibe that they've got going. And like he's so legitimate about it and seems so realistic. And then when we like see his end and his perspective and why he's really doing it, like the magic and having the information right in front of him, it's like, damn it, man, because
Yeah.
it's so cute. Like it's going so well.
I know. I feel like because like I feel like that's so how things are like in the beginning of a relationship. Like you're only seeing all the good things. So like
Yep.
we're really, really living in that moment with Phoebe. But I also love the way that the show is using the dramatic irony of having us know the truth about Cole when Phoebe doesn't, to kind of
Uh-huh.
play up those aspects. I think had they kept it a secret from us too, when the reveal came out, whenever it is that Phoebe eventually finds out, I would have been like, that's bullshit. They did that out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like that they had us in the loop from the beginning. I think that was a really good choice.
Me too. I think that was a very smart decision, and it obviously shows that, it's gonna be, I mean, we have him in the theme now, and it's kind of like a overplayed situation. Like he's really working hard to work his way in there. So we know that this is just gonna get more and more intense. And I can't wait to see like how deep this goes before they figure it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
So it's
definitely keeping like my count. How many episodes do we go before they learn the truth about Cole?
because this is the longest I feel like we've had something like this so far, like a demon or warlock or whatever he is, kind of this involved, invested in creeping their way in, you
Yeah.
know?
I mean, our closest thing to this, I guess, would have been Jeremy, who was with Piper for 6 months, but we only saw him in one episode. Like, we didn't go
Exactly.
through the full relationship with them.
Exactly. Yeah. And we had no clue the whole episode until the end.
Yeah.
Or,
Exactly.
until he turned around and tried to kill Piper. But yeah, but it sucks because overall it's like a cute scene, but then you see the other side and you're like, well, it's okay. Whatever.
Yeah, I know.
So definitely trying to figure out how I feel about Cole, but so far he is charming. I'll give him that.
That's the thing, because he has all these charming moments, but I'm like, but you're a bad guy.
Yeah, bad guy.
Maybe even the big bad. No, I think the big bad is the triad. But,
Yeah, it's
he
probably
works with
is.
them. So,
Somewhere between them. I guess we'll see.
yeah. So then we're in the manor entryway, and Piper's grabbing her keys to leave. And Prue and Phoebe both run in front of her, kind of blocking the door. And Phoebe's like, did you not look at the drawings? And she's like, they're cute, yes. And Phoebe's like, cute. We all had the same invisible fairy friend, Piper. That is proof that fairies exist. And she says, or it proves that one of us had a really fertile imagination and the other two were really big copycats. And Prue's like, we think Kate's in trouble, our kind of trouble. And she says, okay, well, I don't. And after what they did to Leo, I'm not really all that motivated to go dig up demons for them. And Phoebe's like, trolls. She's like, whatever. You guys do whatever you want, but I've had it and I'm done. And Prue says, what does that mean? She says, that means that the powers that be haven't done anything but ruin my life. So therefore, I'm not going to do anything for them anymore. Okay? I'm going now. And then she like pushes between the two of them and walks out. And Phoebe says, I think she's on strike.
Ugh, so hard. It felt like so realistic in this moment. Like I said, Piper's pain just completely shows through. She looks so stone cold and just completely checked out, And that's not an easy thing to act out.
No.
I'm very, very impressed, but I love this them trying to press her into believing, but also like how are they going to get across to her, and they totally understand where she's coming from with this, so they can't really say too much, and it's a very difficult situation for all the sisters right now. And I get Piper not believing and not wanting to, but I'm hoping that if things, if she gets some actual viable proof, she'd be willing to help, because I mean, this is about a little girl, like you're really gonna kind of reject that completely. I don't
Yeah.
know.
And I think I think where Piper's kind of motivation here is coming from is she's really clinging to that thing like Kate's mom said about like this happened after the divorce. So she's like, well, if it happened after the divorce, obviously this is like
A
what her
psychological
mom
thing.
said. This is psychology. Like
Yeah.
I not dealing with that. I have enough of my own emotions to deal with
Mhm.
without some random little girl's emotions, right? However, I mean, they should know by this point if they connect with someone, there's probably something magical involved.
Yeah. And I feel like it's kind of a coming from also a place of denial and honestly, yeah, being on strike, just being that done with it, you know? And I mean, she's really trying hard to I think she's just convincing herself like despite all of that, like this is what her mom said, this is all I've seen, so why am I even gonna bother digging up problems when I have enough, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
So I definitely understand where Piper's coming from, and I think they do too, which is why, like, they kind of don't have too much to say right there, like, what can they say?
hmm
You
Like they
know?
fight her a little bit and then they let her go because they know it's kind of what they have to do.
Exactly. So now we are back in Kate's room. I guess she made it through the night. And Kate is drawing some trolls on a piece of paper and there's a knock at her door and her stepdad lets Prue and Phoebe in and then just leaves her with these two strangers. And then and then Prue kneels by her and says that they brought her jacket back and she says the fairies must have hidden the keys, so they had to use the spare. And Phoebe asks about her drawing, and then Prue shows her drawing from when she was little, and Kate gets really excited. She's like, "That's a fairy and a troll. My mom says I'm making them up, but I'm not." And Prue says, "Well, we believe you, okay? We just need you to tell us everything that you know so that we can help." And she says, "I don't know that much. This was kind of hard to understand. Fairies don't talk the same way people do." And she explains that she saved Thistle, who was a princess, and fairies rule the Enchanted Kingdom, but trolls want to, so they kidnapped her and they were going to kill her. And Prue tells her that she's very brave for saving her, and then Kate says, "But now the trolls hate me because I won't give her back. Most of the times I can stay out of the in-betweens, but at midnight," and Phoebe says, "There's no place to hide." And then Prue asks if they could see her, and Kate's like, "No, only children can see fairies." And they say that they're very in touch with their inner child, and so Kate lets them try and says that they need to go into an in-between and says, watch out for trolls. And she unlocks the box with a key on her necklace, and it opens by the windowsill. And the box is empty, and we see nothing, and they look at each other and like shake their heads, and Kate closes the box and she's like, "You can't help if you can't see her." And she holds the box by her ear and is like listening to something in there and says, "Thistle says that if you really believe in fairies, there's something that'll make you innocent again so you can see them." And she opens the box and throws some dust at the two of them. And they both get all smiley and start laughing. And she puts the box back in the windowsill and opens it, and they both see her. And the special effects of the fairies are pretty good here. Yes, like it looks pretty cute, pretty
Yeah.
realistic and like magical, and exactly what you'd expect a little fairy to look like in a window. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Like we're definitely seeing a lot of improvement in the special effects this
Definitely.
season, and the fairies are one of them for sure.
Yeah. So obviously now Prue and Phoebe are in this weird childlike innocent stage. Talk about regression. So now they can see the fairy and they're kind of more in touch. So that's what I mean. It was like the innocence is what made it so that people could see them, you know?
But
Um,
kind of like you were saying at the beginning, I love how he just like leaves these two strangers with his daughter, like cool.
yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, sure, these two adults want to come hang out with my 7-year-old.
Yeah. Sounds legit. Come on in. It definitely like sounds really weird and I don't know what they did to like get him to be fine with that. Especially if
Literally,
they were
because
just
like their
supposed to drop
excuse was
off a
like, oh, we
jacket.
have the jacket. Yeah, like you could just leave it at the front door. Bye.
I know, like, I wouldn't just let them in. Like, why are you all of a sudden so obsessed with my kid? Like, I'd be like, no, that's a little weird. Even if I had let them go up, I wouldn't have, like, left them alone.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I guess they know they can trust them because they, like, saved her and found her that night, but still, it's, like, really weird because why did you come back? Like,
No, literally.
but I mean, whatever. Plot's sake.
Yeah, plot's sake. It's normal for parents to just let random adults hang out with their kids. You right.
I guess so. The 90s was a different era. Or wait, are we in the 2000s now? Whatever.
I guess we're in 2000, yeah, so.
Even so.
I mean, the
Um,
backstory we get here about Kate and the trolls and the fairies, it's working for me, and I'm kind of excited to see how this will play out, especially now that the sisters are more involved after getting hit with that dust.
okay, it works for me, but also kind of doesn't. Because they can only see them in between realms, right? Because they're, in a different realm in the Enchanted Kingdom or whatever. How exactly, if it wasn't midnight, like, was she just strolling around at midnight and, like, ran into Kate? Like, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how did you find her and save her? Was this happening in your bedroom? Was it in the middle of the day? Like, you just found her, but even though you weren't in an in-between, like,
Yeah. You know what? I was gonna save my questions about that until we saw the location of where this happened. But
I
you're
know, I
right.
was
You're
thinking
totally
that too,
right.
but even here for Kate's part, like, didn't quite add up. But I think the
Yeah.
location kind of makes a little more sense in a way that's like, it was midnight at that time, no?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, what was Kate ever doing in that location?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I mean. Because even here, it's like, where did you, but how though?
Yeah.
I don't know.
We're probably gonna end up saying plot's sake, but we could talk more about it once we see where this actually happened.
Exactly.
So then we're at P3, and Phoebe and Prue are on stage and they're singing If You're Happy and You Know It. And Piper's walking down the stairs, and we see like people walking out of the club. Piper is not happy. Everyone in the bar just looks fucking miserable that this is going on. Piper asks the bartender what's happening, and she's like, they've been acting like kids since they got here. I didn't serve them, I swear it. And she's like, all right, put on some music, any music, and kill that microphone. And then she walks over to her sisters and asks if they lost their minds. And Phoebe's talking like really fast about the fairy, and Piper freezes the club. She's like, what ass backwards spell did you guys cast? And Prue says that they didn't cast a spell, and Phoebe says, no, it's true, we did not cast a spell, but we did use fairy dust. And Piper's telling them they need to reverse it. And then Phoebe pulls this like pouch out of her pocket and throws some dust at Piper, who sneezes and then just gets really mad. And Phoebe's like, that did not work. And she says she's going back to work and unfreezes the club. Then Phoebe tells Piper that she's being a jerk. And Prue like has her hair in her mouth. And Phoebe's explaining that she has the key and they need to meet back up with Kate at midnight. And Piper says, no, you guys are going home and you're not driving either because someone will think you're drunk or something. So go outside and wait there and I'll call a cab. And they start being all like huggy with Piper. And then they ask her why she's being so mean. She's like, you're trying to trick me into ending my strike and it's not going to work. You guys go home and reverse this ridiculous behavior. And so they start to leave. And as they're walking out the back door, a troll attacks, but they make it outside. And Phoebe says they must know that we have the key now. And Prue's like, okay, they're very scary, but they're gonna come after us instead of Kate at midnight. So all we have to do is go home and wait for them. And they go. And then over by the register, we see that Piper finds the card that Leo gives her on Valentine's Day. And she's like looking at it for a minute and then she closes it to get back to work.
So here, I feel like it should be a little more obvious to Piper, like, okay, it's real, you know? Like,
Yeah.
but I get that she still doesn't see it as important enough or whatever, and kind of doesn't know the full story and really is just determined to not be involved in any of this magic shit. I think that Prue and Phoebe's like child acting is a bit much, but But it works though. It works for me and it's really funny.
Yeah, I really entertainment wise, I love the way they're acting, but like realism wise, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like
Yeah,
it's over the top for sure, but I do like it
me
in
too.
terms of the episode. Like I enjoy that aspect of it.
Me too.
Throughout this scene, I'm feeling bad for Piper. And especially like when she finds that card, like I think that was a nice little touch that they added to this scene. So I enjoyed that aspect of it as well because it's reminding us again why she's going through all this. And the fact that
Mhm.
she kept it is cute.
I know. Kept it in the drawer is a little weird, but
Well,
in the
I mean,
drawer
at the
and then
time she's with
registered
Dan, she had to put it somewhere Dan wouldn't find it, right?
fair enough. But yeah, that was cute. Again, a little callback to their past and it, very sad, very sweet, and definitely makes you feel for her again in this moment.
Yeah. And I mean, it's drawing the parallel that, like, that was when Leo gave up his magic for Piper, right? So maybe this is Piper being like, well, maybe if I give up my magic, I can have Leo.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's probably what's going through her head. So now we are back at the manor, and Prue and Phoebe are running around, and Phoebe's like, "Geez, Louise, there's too many doorways in this house," and like, there really are. And they're about to head upstairs to call Kate when the doorbell rings, and Prue's like, "Do you think that trolls know about doorbells?" And Phoebe's like, "I don't know." And they go to the door together and open it slowly, and like suspenseful music is playing. And then Phoebe gets super excited because it's Cole. And he's like, "Hey, you're home." And she's like, excuse me, but you were not supposed to meet me here. You were supposed to meet me at the club, remember? And then he says, "Was that the plan?" And she's like, "Yes, that was the plan." And he's like, "I'm sorry, long day." And Prue's like, "Okay, bye, close the door behind you." And she runs off. And Phoebe says bye too and starts to leave. And then he says, "It's a long drive home. Do you think I could use your restroom?" And Phoebe's like, "Number one or number two?" And Prue starts like laughing and she's like, "He has to go tootie." And it was like, really funny. And he's like super confused and she tells him that he can go but he needs to be fast. So he goes up to the bathroom and locks the door behind him in the bathroom and then walks over to the mirror and teleports to the attic.
So this scene is really funny, really comedic. He has to go Chudy might be one of the funniest lines to ever exist in the history of this show.
Like, what the fuck? This was definitely some, comedic relief. Definitely wasn't a necessary scene, but it was hilarious, and I'm so glad it was in there. Like, absolutely loved it. And I love that they're including Cole and kind of finding ways to throw him into this episode, and it's working for me. It's definitely all working for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And this idea of him kind of like barging his way into the house,
Hmm.
obviously we're going to see what that's leading up to in the next couple of little moments.
Exactly.
So then we're in the hallway, and Prue and Phoebe are standing there with like a walkie talkie trying to contact Kate. Then we go to Kate's room. She has her own walkie talkie, and we see that the trolls are there. And she's like, "Prue, where are you?" Prue says, "We're at home. The dust didn't work on Piper." And Kate says then she doesn't believe. "What are we going to do? I'm scared. There's shadows everywhere, and it's almost midnight." And Phoebe tells her that the trolls know that they have the key and are after them. And Kate's like, "They're here too. I can hear them." Prue says that as long as they have the key, Thistle is safe. So just stay there and turn on all the lights. It'll disappear the shadows.
So I kind of
So, I
like
mean,
this moment of them working together like that, and like even as like little kids, them acting like that, and her being a little kid, like them kind of figuring out how to deal with this together. I think it's really cute.
yeah. And I like kind of like, even though they're taking on this innocent role, they still have this kind of like responsibility and protectiveness in them towards Kate, which I think is really effective and working for the scenes as well.
Yeah, it definitely is too. Like they're like, it's okay, they're after us and not her anymore, and that's what matters, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're still very protective and have that in them, even though you know, they're not, I guess, technically adults in their minds anymore.
Yeah.
So now up in the attic, Cole walks over to the book and tries to touch it, but it glows and like flies off the podium and onto the ground. And then he morphs into this like red demon, like this big red demon with black markings all over his face and in a black suit and very like creepy looking. And as he walks towards the book, it moves further away and he like growls. And in the hallway, Prue and Phoebe hear something like that upstairs and they think that it's trolls. And back up in the attic, Prue and Phoebe bust in and they see Demon Cole and they're like shocked and he teleports out. And Phoebe's like, Prue, that was a very, very big troll. And she's like, that wasn't a troll, that was a demon. And then she's like, okay, well, where does he fit into the story? And Prue says he was after the Book of Shadows. And she goes and grabs it. And Phoebe says that they need to worry about Kate first. And she goes into the doorway and starts getting attacked by a troll. He like goes into her shirt and like knocks them down, grabs the key, and they're like all over. It's a mess. And then they both fall down the stairs, Prue and Phoebe do. And then in the hallway by the bathroom, Phoebe in her regular voice, obviously back to normal, says, Prue, they got the key. And Cole comes out of the bathroom and sees them on the floor and he's like, are you two okay? And she nods.
So first thing I want to talk about, Demon Cole. I love the look they give him. It's really interesting. And now we see that like he doesn't always just like he isn't always this super handsome guy we've been seeing. Something consistency I want to bring up. So in season 1, we see that it's established that only the sisters can take the book out of the house, but it seemed like as long as they were within the house, demons could touch the book. But now here we're getting this impression that like he can't even touch it.
When were demons able to touch the book?
In the episode with Victor, when all those warlocks break into the house to steal the book and they needed one of the sisters to get the book out of the house, but like they were able to move it within the house.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe it's some sort of, it's, yeah, definitely not consistent, but maybe it's something they kind of tried to sneak in there later. I guess we could say it has to do with them growing and the connection being stronger, so the book being stronger, and that kind of, I don't know, I guess it would make more sense to have it this way, and they probably realized that a little later is what probably actually happened. But I guess we could say it's their connection growing, so that power of the book becomes stronger as the power of 3 gets stronger,
All right. You know what? I can accept that. I
Yeah,
can accept that.
We'll chop it up to that.
I do like the way the episode kind of calls it out, where they're kind of like, well, where does he fit into the story? Because, this isn't our main plot. It's kind of a subplot. So I like that. I thought that was cute.
Right. And this is our first experience with Demon Cole. First time we're seeing him. And even as a demon, he's very put together and like clean. Creepy, but clean,
Yeah.
And this is the first time the sisters are seeing him, but they also don't know that it's Cole still. So it's like still, almost happened, but not quite. Luckily, he transformed before they could see it. Well, not luckily, but like, I love that they kind of threw this little subplot in there,
Yeah, definitely.
And then them sobering up after falling down the stairs and kind of coming back to reality and being adults again made sense for me.
Though I will say that Troll and Phoebe's shirt special effect is like the most like weird thing in the episode.
Yeah. Like, no need.
No need. No need at all.
No need. No need for all that. But okay. Whatever. But I feel like aside from all that, these scenes kind of work for me. Very put together, the chaos, all of that, and then Cole's part to play, it definitely worked for me.
Yeah, I think the pacing, the connection, everything in this episode is really strong. So I'm enjoying it for sure.
Yeah, me too.
So then we're downstairs and the 3 of them are all walking down together. And Prue's like, I'm really sorry to rush you out, but we have something very important to be taking care of. And he turns to Phoebe and he's like, but you're sure you're okay? I mean, that sounded like a pretty nasty fall. And she says they're fine. And he's like, you two seem different. I mean, I thought maybe you were, I don't know, drunk or something before, but you seem, and Prue's like, sober. Stares can be sobering. And he looks so confused and is like saying goodbye to them. And, Phoebe says sorry about their plans. And he's like, no worries, I'll keep trying, cutie. And he leaves. And then Phoebe turns to Prue and is like, stares can be sobering? She's like, what was I supposed to say? That some unknown demon came in to try and steal our magic book, and then little trolls came and pushed us down the stairs? She's like, right. But why are we thinking like grown-ups all of a sudden? And she's like, I don't know. It must have been from the trauma of the attack, which is probably a good thing because I don't really think that our inner children would have had a lot of luck protecting Kate and that they need to go and do that. So Phoebe starts to walk out the door, but then Prue heads back upstairs and Phoebe ends up following her. So this scene feels like so much exposition to me.
Yeah.
Like,
It
I feel like
definitely
we
does.
got what happened. We didn't need it explained to us at the end there.
Yeah, definitely not. But it still was like funny, like the stupid stairs can be sobering line and everything.
Well, I loved that. Like the part with Cole all worked for me. But like that
Yeah.
little conversation they have at the end where it's like, well, why are we grown-ups again? Like, we know what happened. You don't need to explain it to us.
Yeah, definitely a little much, but it's okay.
But stairs can be sobering. Great line. Great line.
Yeah, second top tier line of the episode. So now up in the attic, Prue is going to the book, and Phoebe doesn't get why they aren't going to Kate. And Prue's like, because the dust is worn off, we won't be able to see the trolls. And Phoebe reminds her that she already looked in the book, and Prue wants them to make a spell, combining to see what can't be seen and the one to cultivate innocence and the power of 3. So she's going to work on that while Phoebe calls Piper, and they need her because she needs to freeze the trolls because they move too quick. And Prue's like, we may have wanted her to be with us before, but now we actually need her. And so Phoebe goes to call her.
So, I mean, this is them coming up with their plan. This works for me. I get what they're doing. And, I'm just interested to see how it'll play out.
Me too.
So then we're at P3 and we see Piper is clearing some tables. And as she's walking with like these glasses back towards the bar, a troll comes and knocks into her and she drops them all on the floor. And then she starts cleaning it up, but then the phone rings and the bartender brings the phone over to her and says it's her sister. And then the bartender starts cleaning up while Piper goes to take the call. Piper's being very snippy with Phoebe, and Phoebe's like, look, we were trying to distract you before. We were trying to take your mind off of Leo, and it was wrong, and I'm sorry for that. But it's not about that anymore, Piper. We are up against something that we cannot fight without you. And Piper's like, trolls? And she's like, believe it or don't, but they are sneaky and mean, and they're trying to hurt a 7-year-old girl. And Piper asks if they could be at the club, and Phoebe says, yeah. She's like, they know we're witches, and they'll do anything to stop us from helping Kate. And then Piper says that she's on her way and hangs up. So she goes to grab her purse and asks the bartender, who we find out is named Abby, if she's seen her keys. And as she's doing that, she knocks over a bottle, which Abby says that she'll clean up. And Piper goes to grab the spare key from the register, and as she's like doing that, a troll closes her hand in the register. And she's like to Abby, can you close for me? And Abby's like, yeah, sure. Like seeing all this crazy stuff happening to Piper. And then Piper goes.
So I really like this too. I like, even though she's very like, still not into it, the fact that, someone's actually about to get hurt, and especially a little kid, she's more willing to help. She's like, well, obviously I'm not going to let that happen. And then gets all these issues with the trolls and finally starts to believe, even though it's definitely very upsetting to her, and you can see her stress very clearly, and she's not happy. And then she hung up the phone before they could tell her to stay out of the in-betweens, so she's got no clue how to even avoid them, which is just stressing her out even more.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it totally works for me that like Piper's trying so hard to escape this magic, but it's affecting her anyway. So I really like that.
Yeah. So now we are in the parking lot of P3, and Piper walks out, and we hear like troll voices all around and growling. And she's walking to her car and gets like knocked onto the ground once she starts like getting in between a shadow and a light, and gets knocked to the ground, and all of her stuff spills out of her purse. And she's like, "You better run while you can, you little rodents." And she looks up at the sky, very upset. And she's like, "I bet you guys think this is real funny, don't you? Haven't you taken enough from me? You have to send trolls to kick me while I'm down." She says, "I had a nice, normal life once, and you took that from me. You took my boyfriend, you took my life. The least you can do is leave me my freaking car keys." And then people walk by and look at her, and she like acknowledges them and continues on. And she says, "I am a good person. I'm a good witch, and damn it, I would have made a great wife. How dare you take that from me? I deserve, no, you know what? I demand that you send him back to me. You hear me? Right now. I'm gonna stand in this very spot until you send Leo back to me." And she like waits for a second and nothing happens, and she like throws her hands down, giving up, and then starts walking away. That was so sad. That scene like definitely brought tears to my eyes.
No, best scene of the episode, no question.
Yeah. Oh my god. She is so good at that high drama.
Really like incredible dramatic performance from Holly Marie Combs. Like the
Oh
scene.
yeah. It's so sad. I mean, poor girl is just so fed up, so done, and she just wants him back and wants her life back with him. And she's right. I mean, she does deserve all those things, and she is a great person, a great witch, and she would have been good with Leo, I think. And it's just like, it's so sad that this all got taken away from her. And I don't know, like just her pain is showing through so strong here.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I feel everything she's feeling. I understand where she's coming from. And I'm rooting for her. Like I was hoping at the end of this scene Leo was going to appear there, and when he doesn't, like I feel the heartbreak right there with her. Like this
Yeah,
scene is so well constructed.
beautiful. Absolute masterpiece.
Yes. So then we go back to the manor and we're in the conservatory, and Prue and Phoebe are super impatient as they're waiting for Piper. They're worrying that she's not going to show up. But just then she comes in and she's like, "Sorry, I'm late." Phoebe asks if she's okay, and she says, "I thought this wasn't about me." And Prue says, "You don't seem like you're very open." She says, "I'm as open as I'm going to get in the next 5 minutes, so let's just do the damn spell." And they do it, and then they start heading to Kate's house with the plan that they're going to get there, freeze her parents, and then go in.
So I like their little plan. I like the attitude from Piper and the, same energy that she's been giving.
Yeah, I mean, it feels very realistic with where she's at emotionally. This idea of like, this is as good as I'm going to get. So if we're going to do it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, their plan questionable. You're gonna ring someone's bell at midnight and then just like walk past them. Like, I have questions. Why wouldn't you just find a way to sneak in, like have her open a window for you or something?
I was about to say, like, I would have Kate, like, through the walkie-talkie, just open the door.
Literally, like it's like we're gonna wake up her parents. How the fuck are you gonna explain that? I don't even
Yeah,
understand.
doesn't make too much sense, but whatever, I guess.
Plot's sake.
Yeah, plot's sake, per usual. So now we are at Kate's house, and Kate is in her room with the walkie, calling for them and scared. And it's the clock strikes midnight, and the trolls are laughing and appear all over the room, and they attack her and fight her for the box. And that's when the sisters walk in, and they can't see them but like they get pushed out of the room, and Thistle's box gets knocked on the floor and pulled under the bed, and Kate gets dragged under her bed and turned into a fairy. And they take her and Thistle away. The trolls do. And the sisters look underneath and don't see her, and just an empty box with some fairy dust next to it. So they have no clue what happened to Kate. I like this that they, somehow the spell didn't work, and we're going to figure out why they couldn't see them and couldn't help her, and like that she got taken away and kind of the effects of that.
Yeah, and I mean, action wise, this scene works for me. The special effects are good.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm interested to see like how the sisters are going to solve this problem of Kate and Thistle now being taken by the trolls.
Exactly.
So then we come back from our commercial break and we're still in Kate's room and we see that the sisters have completely taken apart the bed and they still can't find her, which has me thinking, how long have the parents been frozen and how have they not come up yet?
I was thinking the exact same thing. The exact same thing. And we're never going to
But
know
yeah,
either.
we're never going to find out. Yeah. So whatever. The parents just like left, I guess. I don't know. Plot's sake.
Shit happens. They don't care anymore. It's
I
not their
guess.
problem.
They're like, these random adults keep showing up at my house to see my daughter, and now they're showing up at midnight. Normal, whatever.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Shit happens.
But again, so they've completely taken apart her room and they notice some like fairy dust under the bed and they like realize what probably happened. Phoebe picks up the box and she's hoping to get a premonition. And Prue says, I don't understand. Why couldn't we see the trolls? I mean, we've had spells backfire on us before, but never the power of 3. And Piper says it didn't backfire. The spell didn't work because of me. This is all my fault. I wanted to save Kate. I never meant to hurt her. And Prue tells her not to blame herself. She says, you have every right to be angry. And Piper says, but not at the expense of a little girl. I don't understand how I'm supposed to believe in anything anymore. I just want him back, Prue. And Prue hugs her and she's like, I know, but right now we have to get Kate back and we're going to need your help to do that. Then Phoebe walks over and she's like, damn it, damn it, damn it. I don't understand what good this power is if I can't use it when I need it. And Prue tells her that she needs to focus, and she says she is. And they start kind of bickering back and forth. And as this is going on, Piper notices like this little like boy fairy and tells them that the spell is working. And they all see the fairy and then walk over and decide to follow it.
I absolutely love this scene and that we figure out that it was Piper for, not believing enough and not caring enough or, everything that she said. But you can see that it's really hitting her now that, wow, my feeling like this almost like got this little girl taken away and like, what am I going to do? And is blaming herself. And I think it's starting to hit her a little more that there are other priorities and, she can't just avoid it like she wanted to,
Yes. I think there's this idea that's come up, and I mean, we're starting to see it here where Piper gets so blinded by like her relationship that sometimes she misses the other important things going on, or like it takes her away from her magical destiny a little bit. And I know it's something that I see on social media, people calling out her character for doing.
Yeah.
I do at times because like I relate to Piper a lot and I really understand where she's coming from in these moments, but I also understand why there are viewers who like find this to be an annoying thing about her character.
I definitely get that too. And I think that if you've never really been in a relationship or understood how a relationship works, then maybe you'd find it a little more annoying. But when you really think about it, it's realistic and completely understandable. Like, yeah, she's got this crazy destiny and a lot to do, and maybe it gets in the way sometimes, but she never wanted this, and all she really wants is a good, happy life, and she feels like she can't get that. She deserves it. She works so hard for it, and I fully understand and I feel for Piper. I know that it's a habit that should be that, isn't right because there's more at stake, but it doesn't always work like that with love. And it's very realistic that she acts this way, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I think another thing that comes up is like, especially as a younger viewer, I would always be like, well, Piper's a grown up. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking about it now, like Piper's young, like Piper's like 27. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm 27. I act like this sometimes. Like I
Right.
totally get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot different when you look at it from kind of an age perspective and a realistic emotional perspective,
Yeah,
So,
definitely. I mean, she just had her like heart ripped out and her fiance taken away from her, what, a couple days ago?
yeah, I know. Like, not even. And people expect her to just like, oh, let me hop right back to what I'm doing. Like, it's
And
not that easy.
exactly. And the thing is, at the end of the day, she does, right? Because Piper is
Yeah.
a hero. So when it comes down to it, she does make the right choice. Does it take her a little longer than her sisters to get there? Yes. But does she get there? Yes.
Exactly. So now we're in the woods at like this cave, and they're all walking, following the fairy, and they get to this cave and he leaves, and Piper's like, first troll I see is in really big trouble. Let's go. And they head in, and the trolls have Kate and Thistle in a cage and are starting to set a fire below them. And they are like the girls are hiding, but the trolls behind notice them and push them out from where they're hiding. And all the trolls start attacking them, and Piper freezes one and Prue throws it into the fire. Then Phoebe levitates and has Prue move her to the cage to get it away from the fire. And they run towards the fire, and Piper freezes the flames for them to go through, and the trolls start to follow, and she unfreezes the flames. So they just barbecue.
In my
So-
notes, I wrote like, barbecue.
So all the trolls end up running into the fire, and Phoebe frees Kate and Thistle, and they start to leave. And Prue asks if she can turn Kate back, and Kate like shakes her head at Thistle. And Phoebe's like, Kate, you know, you can't stay a fairy, because if you do, your mom will be very sad. And then Piper walks closer to her and says, you know what? I think I kind of know how you're feeling. When someone you love goes away, it doesn't make any sense, and you feel like the whole world is out to get you. But you know what? Your mom and dad didn't split up to hurt you. Things just happen, things that you may never understand. But you just have to believe that it's for the best, even if it doesn't always seem that way. Remember how sad you were when your daddy left? Well, that's how sad everybody's going to be if you don't come home. And Kate looks at Thistle all sad and nods, and Thistle throws fairy dust at her, and she turns back into a person. And Piper smiles, and Prue hugs Piper, and Phoebe hugs Kate.
So I love that they're guilt tripping a 7-year-old here.
I know. Seriously. Like making her feel mad upset right now. But I like that. I get what Piper's saying. I get the point, and them trying to relate her and Leo to Kate's situation, you know. So it works here.
Yeah, and I like the way, Piper kind of approaches her. Like, it works for me, the connection. But, like, when Phoebe's just like, if you don't come back, your mom will be very sad. I'm like, wow, this poor 7-year-old. She's, like, going through it, and you're like, you're gonna make your mom sad.
Yeah, you gotta come back. They just had no clue how else to convince her. Phoebe was not getting it. Kate was like, I don't give a fuck.
Overall, this scene does work for me. I mean, the fight scene is good. Barbecue, that worked. I liked that.
Yeah. I love it. It definitely worked for me too. The ending, the closing scene, like we had talked about earlier. How did Kate get here in the first place to get Thistle in the first place? Like, I'm not sure, but
Yeah, like, what was this 7-year-old just doing in the middle of the woods?
I know. And was it at midnight? Is that why she was able to
I
see
guess we
her?
can assume there are shadows in a cave so she could see them.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, what the
And you
fuck?
know what else? Their drawings from earlier. There was a cave in it. Because they even brought that up. This is the
Yeah, so
cave
what are
from
all
the
these
drawing.
kids doing in caves?
Exactly. Like, what the fuck? Why are they all going there?
Like, I know back in the day kids played outside more, but like your parents were just letting you go to the cave, no problem.
Yeah, no, like not very realistic at all. And I just realized that in the drawing, yeah. Like, okay.
But you know what we say to that? Plot's sake.
Let's see. Every time.
So then we're back at the manor, and the sisters walk in, and the doorbell rings, and we see that there are flowers and there are keys, and they realize it's like a gift from the fairies. So they bring all the stuff in, and Piper puts like this flower crown on her head, and they're trying to find something to say to her, and she says, I know, it's okay. I'm actually beginning to understand why they don't want witches and white lighters to be together. And they all walk into the living room, and she says, marriage is hard enough, but marriage to a white lighter? He's got to orb out at all times of the night, and sometimes he's gone for weeks at a time. But honestly, if I'm going to have a meltdown every time I have no idea where he is, then none of us are going to be able to do our jobs. And if we had lost that little girl tonight, and Phoebe says, but we didn't. Piper says, but we could have. And I don't think I could live with that. If that means that I have to give up Leo, then I guess that's a sacrifice that I'm willing to make. And her and Prue hug, and Piper gets up and leaves the room.
Again, so sad. The tears at the perfect spot, and her having this realization was very beautiful to see.
Yeah, and I think it's this idea that, I mean, came up at the end of season 2 as well. This idea that, like, their magical destinies and saving the world is always what's going to have to come first in their life. Whether they have to sacrifice a sister, whether they have to sacrifice the love of their life, whatever it is, saving the world is always going to have to come first for them. And I think this is Piper. I don't know if it's for the last time, but Piper once again accepting that destiny.
Yeah. Which I can't imagine that it's ever just going to be like, okay, like, there you go. We accepted the destiny. That means we're never going to have issues like this. Like, no, because they can't help. They're still humans and have human emotions. And at least they have these realizations. But yeah, things will get to them. I'm sure they have been. And it's not really something they can avoid, but it's something they can continue to look back at this lesson and try to learn from it as best as they can, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I think that, when you do have this major destiny, there's always gonna be things that happen in other aspects of your life that make you question it. And so it's totally relatable and totally realistic that from time to time, different sisters will question what they're doing.
Exactly. So when Piper leaves, she goes towards the stairway, and Leo orbs in and walks over to her, and she's like in shock, and she's like, am I dreaming? And he says no, and they hug. And she's like, I had a dream that you weren't coming back. And they let go of each other, and she's like, that wasn't a dream either, was it? And he says, no, it wasn't. They had forbidden me from ever seeing you again. But now and Prue and Phoebe walk over, and they're all like happy to see him. And he's like, I don't know what you said or did, but they said you showed great courage and great faith, enough to make them reconsider. And Phoebe said, does that mean you guys can get married now? And Leo says, not yet. It means they're giving us a chance to prove we can make it work. If we can show them that our relationship won't get in the way of our work, and Piper says, then we can stay together. And he says, right, but if anything goes wrong, if we're distracted by each other to the detriment of a single innocent, and she says, we won't be. And she touches his face and then takes his hand, and they go upstairs together. And Phoebe's like, are you worried? And Prue's like, when are you gonna learn? I'm always worried. I'm relieved that he's back, though. I mean, not only for Piper, but... And she was like, and Phoebe goes, I know. Unknown, unattractive demon on the loose. And Prue's like, let's not tell them until tomorrow. I think that the least they deserve is one night of worry-free romance, don't you? And she's like, romance? Ugh. And no, she has to talk to Cole.
Yes.
So we got him back, you guys.
Leo's back.
This realization brought him back. And like, look at how happy they look. Like, that just like warms my heart.
Also, like, I love the setup of this scene as they're like walking upstairs. It's like, that they're about to bang. Like, it's very obvious.
Yeah, very obviously about to go up there and do the nasty, but that's okay.
It's true
Let 'em
love, you
rock.
know what I mean? We'll give them their moment.
Yeah. They deserve it after this pain.
Yeah, and even Prue and Phoebe are like, they deserve it. We'll tell them about this tomorrow.
Yeah, the demon. And now they know that they have this other demon on the loose, though, so he's probably gonna come back up, and
yeah.
we're getting
It's
closer.
also super funny that she's like unattractive because we know it's Cole who she's attracted
Yeah, I know.
to. So it's like, okay.
But is he, though? Is he unattractive? Is he? Definitely looking forward to kind of that coming back up and seeing if Piper and Leo end up being able to make it work this time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now they've got the support behind them and they know what they have to do. So I'm hoping that maybe they will actually get married.
Me too.
So then we move to our final scene of the episode. And this is a phone call between Cole and Phoebe where he's in his office and she's at the manor. he's sitting at his desk and he has that same folder from before, and his phone starts ringing. He's like, Turner. And Phoebe's like, gasps, and she's like, hi, Cole. What are you doing at the office at 2 a.m? And he's like, what are you doing calling my office at 2 a.m? She's like, I was just going to leave you a message, save you the trouble of having to talk to me. And he says, why would I ever not want to talk to you? Okay, Cole, that's a line if I've ever heard one, but I like it. And she's like, I don't know, just in case you thought I was a drunk or a lunatic or a drunk lunatic. He's like, I think I'm going to go with mystery, one I'm looking forward to figuring out. And she's like, okay, I'm going to go then and be mysterious. And he's like, I'll call you. And she's like, I will answer, which that little exchange there, like that was the cutest thing to me.
Absolutely adorable. She was like, she's in like a little girl. She was so
I
happy.
know, like
She's
her
like,
little smile. She's like, I will answer. I'm
she's like, I will
"You're so
answer. Like,
cute." Like, I love seeing Phoebe like this. Like, she is the cutest thing.
so giddy. She's adorable.
So then they hang up and she leans back on the couch and you could just see that she's so fucking happy. But we don't stay in that moment because then we go to Cole's office and he is speaking to his shadow once again. And he says, yes, tell them I'm getting closer. And then we see like the shadow kind of like fade down into the vent and he sits down and he's so bad, but like, I'm in love with him.
I'm so attracted to him at this point. This like bad boy. I hate that he's playing her, but like,
Why do I want him to be playing me? Like,
I know, but like, shit. Very cute, knows what to say. He's got all the traits, but he does have those red flags, and I definitely don't like that, but I like his energy, like the way he goes about these things. Like it's kind of like why am I rooting for him a little bit? Like that's not okay.
I know. I'm like, you're literally the villain. And I'm like, so into your storyline. Like, I like
know.
can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
Yeah, I'm definitely super invested in the Cole story, and I am like so excited to see how this continues and plays out.
Yeah. And I mean, also to go back to like kind of the red flags, like I'm sitting here, right? And I'm watching Phoebe like falling hard. And I'm like, this is going to be devastating for Phoebe. Like, I'm so interested to see what's going to happen here.
It's gonna be so bad. Like I can already predict, like it's gonna be the ultimate betrayal.
Yeah.
The ultimate betrayal. And we get to see it, and I guess like it's kind of literally what happened with Jeremy and Piper, but we didn't get to see a lot of that.
We didn't get to see the development. We didn't get to see her falling in love with him.
Exactly.
Right? So
and now we get to see it. So we can feel it for her and all of these things, and looking at it from her perspective and from his perspective, it's like crazy. And I'm so invested, and I'm so happy. Like it's sucks because we've been talking about this and waiting for an actual love interest for Phoebe. And like now, obviously, she's finally starting to get that development, and it's a demon. Like I can't believe it. This is our first big love interest for Phoebe, and it's a fucking demon.
I know.
Not and that I mean, I don't know how much it's gonna be, but already she's falling really hard, and he's been in a couple of episodes. Like, very obviously has an important part to play. So I am like,
I know. And it's like so hard because like obviously you and I do actually know where this storyline is going, and I'm like not getting ahead of myself. I'm trying so hard to stay like in the moment.
Me
but like
too.
even just being in the moment, I'm like, this storyline is so crazy already, and it's only been 3 episodes.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying so hard not to get ahead of myself or, kind of make ideas or opinions based on what I already know.
Yeah.
But like based on what I'm seeing in front of me, yeah, like this is getting pretty crazy pretty quick,
Yeah. Overall thoughts on the episode?
There were definitely some things that didn't make sense that we had pointed out, but overall this was a really strong episode. Like the stories fit, the emotion in it, and Piper's pain, him coming back, and Cole kind of being thrown in there. Like it was great. It was lots of connections, lots of like chaos going on, and it felt like it really worked for me. Like a necessary episode.
Yeah, I've always thought of this episode as like a really fun episode. I've always enjoyed it. And I did again this watch, despite, all the little inconsistent things we picked out. But I also
Mhm.
do think it's like, an overall important episode. I mean, we get Leo coming back and like them having this new chance at their relationship with the approval of them. We get to see Cole's demon persona for the first time.
Mhm.
And we get, this little push forward in whatever's going on with him and Phoebe and where that might be going. So overall, I do think there's some continuing storylines in this episode, as well as kind of having our little troll monster of the week thing.
Agreed.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. If you want to reach out to us or follow us on social media, we're on Instagram and TikTok at rewitched_pod. Or you can send us an email to rewitched.pod@gmail.com. Also, if you would like to subscribe to our Patreon, we have several monthly tiers available at patreon.com/rewitchedpodcast. Either way, we appreciate you listening and hope you'll join us back next time for Season 3, Episode 4, All Hallowell's Eve.